In this video, I will explain how to invest in stocks online for beginners. And since this video is focused on beginners, the first thing is to explain what is an action, or what it is to invest in stocks. The shares represent a very small portion of the company. Imagine that I have a company and I want to grow. I can ask the bank or my family for money, but there are times when I want to grow faster and need a lot of capital. Normally, you always start with private investors, to whom you give a part of the company in exchange for money. For an investor, this is an interesting opportunity to invest in companies that are in the early stages of development. But this is nothing compared to what happens when a company goes public. What does it mean for a company to go public? Let's imagine that Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook, and after a few years of raising a lot of capital from private investors and growing, the company decided to do an initial public offering, IPO, going public to receive more and invest more. So how much is Facebook worth? If you buy a share, you become the owner of Facebook. Yes, you will literally own Facebook like Mark Zuckerberg, except for one thing, the amount or percentage of the company you receive. How much is a share worth? Well, the stock is worth about $200, Apple is worth a little less, and Microsoft is worth $2,000. By the way, you won't be able to participate in decision-making because ultimately the majority shareholders will decide what happens to the company. Now, what are dividends? It is when a company makes money, and by being an owner, you are entitled to a small proportionate share of those profits. Sometimes, when the company presents its balance sheets, it is necessary to reflect on the strategy to achieve income and, in the vast majority of cases, companies choose to distribute a part of them to their shareholders. As an investor, it is an interesting opportunity to invest in developing companies. For example, today companies like Amazon, Microsoft and Apple are worth more than $1 trillion. Sometimes, company leaders decide not to distribute the profits, but instead decide to reintegrate them, which implies considerable remuneration for themselves. This means that if you have a share of these companies that are focused on growth, you will not receive anything on a recurring basis, but what usually happens with these companies is that the share price usually grows much more than companies that pay dividends, since that the company is reinvesting in the business. McDonald's, Coca-Cola and Johnson & Johnson are more traditional companies, which pay a good dividend, unlike companies like Microsoft, Apple and Amazon that have grown a lot for several years and today pay a small dividend, but at the same time, less as extra income. Do companies pay dividends from time to time? Well, it depends on each company. They generally pay 4 times a year each time they present their quarterly balance sheet, but there are different ways. There are companies that pay once a year or twice a year, that depends on each. The positive thing is that there are companies that do things well, not only do they pay out every year, but they also increase the dividend over time. By the way, there are companies that reinvest in growing faster and that unfortunately do not pay dividends at the moment, such as Facebook, Amazon and the South American company Mercado Libre. What's more, they are companies that, for many years, especially Amazon, which is a well-known case, lost money to continue growing. Now, how do we buy a stock? Well, let's go to the platform where I invest called eToro. I'm going to tell you in detail how it works and what you have to take into account when buying a share. In this case we will go to the platform's search engine and locate the following company, known as Coca-Cola. In this case, various numbers and statistics will be observed, such as a graph illustrating various moments in time in relation to the market capitalization and the dividends mentioned above. Here you can see a graph in greater detail. There are tools to do technical analysis. In fact, the research statement is available exclusively for the largest and most prominent stocks. It is of great relevance given that an exhaustive analysis has been carried out by professionals, which combines a moderate purchase and a target price established by analysts, who, without a doubt, make predictions, but it does not mean that this is true. Well, we head into the investing area. We are looking to buy a stock and it is important to understand that there is a difference between placing an order and investing directly at the market price, but I actually want to invest at the market price. Because I think it is beneficial. By the way, you can choose by amount or by unit. Another issue that must be defined before carrying out the operation is the stop loss and the take profit. What do they both mean? The stop loss is to cut losses. The objective of take profit is to obtain profits when the sales volume is excessively high. These are practically the steps to follow to buy a stock, but it is useful to use a credit card, specifically for the purchase of the same. At this moment I want to clarify that there are two large areas or two large schools, such as investment in stocks and investment in general. One of them is the trading activity, which focuses on the acquisition and sale of large volumes and small margins, and seeks to obtain a difference in the short term. On the other hand, there are people who invest for the long term and buy stocks, either to receive those dividends or because they hope to have good returns. I identified myself as one of them. In general, there are many people who make money trading, but in my experience the vast majority of people lose practically all or a large part of their money. Now, what happens if you know absolutely nothing while you are beginners? Well, my recommendation, if you are investing within the eToro platform, like me, you have the possibility of copying not only one, but several investors to be able to diversify more and have a part of your capital in different strategies or simply buy a good index fund. I hope it has been useful to you. If you are interested in digital marketing, personal finances, I invite you to subscribe, like the video and activate the notification bell. Without anything else to say, thank you very much.